Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbale here in Abuja. Let me say happy Mother's Day to all of the women who are making efforts to groom, train a child. Whether you are a Sheila or you're a Fatima, whatever your name may be, wherever you may be, we celebrate you, all the wonderful women who are making efforts not only to train the oncoming generation, but also who have made effort in building our nation. Thank you so much indeed, everyone, for watching tonight. Let's get to it. First and foremost, let's give you an understanding of what may be coming tomorrow, because the recent policies of the Bola Tinubu government has been getting a lot of reactions from different sectors of the society. The economy is also reacting to some of these issues, and different people are also giving their thoughts on what is going on. The Nigerian labor are reacting to the electricity tariff hike, and of course, they are planning to picket some of the offices. Tomorrow, Monday, the 12th of May, 2024, labor unions say they will picket the office of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, and distribution company DISCO's premises nationwide over the hike in electricity tariff. In a memo jointly issued by the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, and the trade union counterpart, TUC, they say there will be picketing action scheduled to take place in the offices of the NERC and DISCOs in all states, including the FCT. The communication went further to say that the action will jointly take place on Monday, the 13th of May, 2024, nationwide simultaneously. The action is followed a hike in the tariff for electricity consumers who enjoy at least 20 hours of daily power supply. Of course, I will be giving you some understanding of the legality of what the government has done. There are those who think that the government has not done the right thing, especially when the cybersecurity levy came up when the CBN, according to the Cybersecurity Act of 2024, Section 44, which provides that a levy shall be paid, and the government says they are acting on that section of the law, and a lot of people are reacting to it, of course. There are those who are saying that that is unconstitutional. We'll be hearing some legal perspective all to this, because Labour is also threatening a withdrawal. And we're hearing that there might just be a rescission or a reversal or withdrawal of that action by the federal government. We're hoping that there will be an official statement to that effect, because I think it's about another few days before that policy comes into full effect. So we'll be waiting to hear what is going on. But let me for a moment hold on that policy decision, the legality, and we'll come back to it and discuss it in detail on the program tonight. Let me take you to the politics of Rivers State. Of course, the chief of staff to the governor, Mr. Simila Fubara, his chief of staff has been given some more insight on the real reasons behind the frosty relationship between his principal and the former governor, Nyesom Wike. He has said over the weekend that the problem in Rivers State began when a few political leaders sought exclusive control of the resources of the state. He was speaking on Saturday at a Thanksgiving service for the Supreme Court victory of the governor in Awada East local government area of the state, where he warned that the governor is capable of teaching his opponents a political lesson. Take a listen to Mr. here.
The problem we have in the state is that 11 persons said they will control the resources of Rivers State. All agree? These 11 persons now called another 20-something persons and said, Urenka, Chinka, take this one. I don't correct my own. All agree? And we have told them, you can be 20-something, but Rivers people were in our millions. No be so? You look at the governor of Rivers State, the economic power of Nigeria, and you call that governor a small ball. You look at the governor and you say it's a small ball. The governor that has the power from heaven and earth. What that small boy will do to you? What that small boy will do to you?
That is the Chief of Staff to Governor Fubara. Well, the former governor and the Minister of FCT, Mr. Yinson Wike, has also been speaking, and he has considered that he made a mistake to support Governor Fubara to succeed him as the governor of Rivers State. Wike was speaking at a function in Ogu-Bolo local government area of Rivers State on Saturday, where he apologized to the people of the state for what he called a mistake. He says he's a human being who is bound to make mistakes, assuring the people, however, that the mistake would be corrected at the appropriate time. Listen to it.
I respect people who appreciate what God has done for them, who appreciate what God has used people to do for them. God does not come down. God uses people to help people. So when you have been helped, you appreciate them, and then God will know that you have also appreciated him. Well, in life, when you have made a mistake, you say I made a mistake. There's nothing you can do about it. I have made a mistake. I own it up, and I say, God, forgive me. And I'll say, all of you forgive me. But we'll correct it at the appropriate time. I'm a human being. I'm bound to make a mistake. My judgment can be wrong. So forgive me for making a wrong judgment.
All right, you've heard it. So much to chew tonight on the program. We'll be dissecting all of these issues. Whatever your major story in the land in the past few days are, in fact, those who are of the major stories today, we will chew everyone for you, dissect them, and give you the perspective for you as a citizen to take action and the right decision. But of course, we need to take a short break, everyone. When we return, my guests will be giving us some of the insight into all of this and the perspectives, especially the legal angles to all of the issues, from electricity tariff to the political crisis in Rivers State, the cybersecurity levy, if the government would rescind or not, and all of those issues. Stick around with me, everyone. In just a moment, we'll be right back. For staying with us on the program. So we've got all your major stories of the day and through the week for you tonight to analyze and get perspectives. Of course, earlier on, we're talking about the Rivers political crisis and some of the dynamics and some of the drama that is playing out. It does look like the frustrated relationship that we saw between, or we're saying in between the former governor and the incumbent governor. Things are unfolding. Of course, let me show you some pictures of what happened earlier in the week. We saw what happened where there was an emergence of a factional, call him a pro-Fubara speaker. Yes, he emerged. And afterwards, there was some kind of tension. In fact, it took about the 25 pro-Wike lawmakers in Rivers State to go and announce that they are reporting the governor to the Inspector General of Police. And the Commissioner of Police in the state is also intervening in the matter. It's gotten to a point in time that the governor had gone to also visit where the lawmakers are sitting and the quarters, the living quarters of the lawmakers. The governor has also issued an executive order taking away the seating venue of the lawmakers from that quarters, taking it to the government house. These are some of the scenarios playing out. Of course, I will show you what really transpired. It began when Mr. Tony Okocha who is the interim chairman of the APC State Caretaker Committee, Antonio Koja, came out to say, look, he asked the lawmakers to begin an impeachment move on Governor Fubara. That angered Governor Fubara and those who are pro-Fubara, and of course were hurt what the PDP said. The PDP at the national level, the national spokesperson of the PDP, Debo Ologwagba, as I was speaking about this earlier in the week. Let me remind you of what he said.
Attention of the leadership of the People's Democratic Party have been drawn to a delusional declaration by the chairman of the All Progressive Congress in Rivers State, Mr. Antonio Koja, wherein he issued a hallucinatory directive that an impeachment proceedings be commenced against the democratically elected governor of Rivers State. In any event, the individuals that the Rivers State APC chairman directed to commence impeachment proceedings against Governor Fubara are not legally members of the Rivers State House of Assembly and cannot contemplate or exercise such powers under the law.
All right, then. That is a statement coming from the national office of the People's Democratic Party in defense of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, a statement that came from Mr. Tony Okocha, who is the chairman of the caretaker committee of the APC in Rivers State. Of course, that really escalated so badly. Those who are now asking the question, what is the legality of that statement? How can you ask for a process of impeachment to commence on the governor? Is that right? These are some of the questions that have been asked. And of course, we'll put our spotlight on what is happening in Rivers State. I'm just trying to get connection with my guests. And as soon as we are able to do that, we'll be breaking down all of these issues. We'll go on a short break again, a commercial break. And when we return, we'll be speaking with my guests on the program. We'll be right back. Factional, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, is live for us on the program. Thank you so much, Leonard Sik, for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Let me get your view first and foremost on these Rivers political crises. Give us an understanding. So we have about 4 of the pro-Fubara, pro-governor of Rivers State lawmakers. And we have, on the other hand, the 25 who are on the other side, who are the pro-Wike lawmakers in the House of Assembly, and all of the drama that have played out. Underlining all of this is the fact that if there is an impeachment proceeding to be instituted or carried out on the governor, we saw the emergence of the factional speaker out of the 4, and that those will be asking the question, who is the real speaker? From the point of view of the law, what is your assessment, Ms. Falano?
I think the matter is already in court. I think a couple of days ago, the High Court sitting in Port Harcourt granted another of injunction restraining the 25 lawmakers from parading themselves, as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly on the ground that they had decamped and thereby for now have forfeited their right to be legislators. I think what will be required of them is perhaps to go to the court and join issues. Before now, they were threatening impeachment. And of course, the governor was likely to have challenged their local standard to begin impeachment proceedings, since they are deemed in law to have lost their seats. Frankly speaking, I think they were not properly guided or advised. Because unless you can show or demonstrate that there is a division in a political party that sponsored your election, you cannot remain in any legislative house. If with the camp or cross to another party. Because the whole idea is that the Constitution set out to ban or prohibit political prostitution on the part of legislators in Nigeria. So as of today, there is a court order restraining the, I think 25 of them from parading themselves as legislators in that state, and the speaker from parading himself as the Speaker of the House. That is the law today. So I do hope that those who are affected by the order would like to urge the court to have another look at the case. However, it may be very difficult to persuade the court to allow them to remain in the legislative house unless they are prepared to go back to the people and have their mandate, renewed by the people. So that is the position of the law.
So in all,
and the Supreme Court has made this point clear in the case of Abegune and Labour Party. You cannot, on your own, decide that there is a division in a party. And it doesn't mean a division in a local government or in a state. It has to be a division down the line at the national level. That is the position of the law.
So where does the people, where do the people stand in all of this? Because the bottom line is the effect of these or an implication on governance. Now, we're seeing an executive order instituted by the governor on the House of Assembly, removing their sitting venue from the well, you understand what happened to their sitting venue, which got burned, and now they've removed it and taken it to the government house. What do you make of this? Can the governor do that? Can the governor do that?
Frankly speaking, I would like to assume that the governor issued that executive order before the intervention of the High Court in Rivers State. The House is independent of the executive. So we prefer to say the governor cannot tell the House where to sit. This was very clear in the case of, the Oyo State case, which led to the impeachment of Governor Ladoja, whereby, under the influence of the late Chief Lamidi Adedibu, the House was alleged to have sat in a hotel. And the Supreme Court made the point abundantly clear that an impeachment carried out in a hotel is alien to Section 188 of the Constitution. So any sitting of the House outside the principle of the House of Assembly complex will not be known to law, will not be recognized by law.
But who determines, Mr. Falana, who determines the complex? Who designates the complex? Is that going to be by a statute or by the decision of the members themselves? Don't forget, there was a disaster that happened to the House of Assembly complex, which made them attempt to take away the venue to another venue, which is now happening in the quarters. Now, the governor, as the head of government, doesn't have the power to designate, because if he builds another complex today and sites it in Awada local government, for example, or in some part of Rivers State, who determines, according to in the eyes of the law, who determines what the venue of the sitting is?
So there is a House of Assembly complex in Rivers State today. If there is going to be a sitting elsewhere, maybe because of renovation or some other problem, or if the House, assuming the House is flooded, the members of the legislature, the members of the House of Assembly, properly constituted, will have to decide where to carry out their constitutional duty. I mean, for instance, the House of Assembly cannot pass a resolution directing the executive where to hold meetings, or directing a court or the chief judge of the state where the judges should sit. So there is separation of powers under the Constitution, and each organ of the government must recognize its own powers and limitations as it is today, unless there is evidence. Maybe the House has become defective, and the House of Assembly will have to sit elsewhere, and the executive has information to that effect. The information will have to be passed to the House, properly constituted, to now decide, for the members to decide where to sit. But the position of the law is very clear on the sittings of the House, the proceedings of the House, where to hold the proceedings of the House. So in this case, I mean, just like you said, I think it's important for the gladiators in Rivers State to appreciate the need to take up governance very seriously, settle their political scores, and allow governance to resume in that state, so that the problems confronting the people can be properly addressed.
Mr. Malano, let me get, because there are divergent views. And when it comes to politics, there's also the side of the law and the side of the norm and conventions. And of course, there are kind of necessities when it comes to political conventions. So the president, Bola Tinubu, intervened in the feud we're saying between the Wike camp and the Fubara camp. And there are those who have challenged President Tinubu that he doesn't have the constitutional ground to intervene in the matters of Rivers State. But there are those who say, oh, as a father, a political father, he wanted peace. Give us an understanding. Was the president legally wrong, but politically right? Is that the case?
I think the president intervened at the instance of in Rivers State, involved in the crisis. It's not backed by any provision of the Constitution, mind you. It's an extra legal measure towards the restoration of law and order in that state. But if those who are involved turn around to say we are unable to comply with the resolution signed in the villa, of course there's nothing the president can do about that. The president can only wish them well. And since they have now taken their battle to the court of law, we just have to follow through and allow the law to take its course. That is what the rule of law is about under a democratic dispensation. There's no provision for any grandstanding outside the provisions of the law. And that point has to be made abundantly clear to all the people are involved in the crisis in Rivers State. But at the end of the day, the people must be at the center of governance. And you know, it's a bit difficult to really speak authoritatively on this one, because this battle is based on ideological differences, as was the case in the Second Republic, whereby, you had Governor Abubakar of Kano State and Balaam Musa of Kaduna State, with all disagree fundamentally with the leadership of the PRP. It was based on the implementation of their program and the alliance between their leader and the MPN, the ruling party. He said, no, we're not going to have anything to do with MPN. We want to meet with our colleagues in the Progressive Governors Forum. The matter went to court. And the court said, the Lagos High Court said, yes, you can associate with your colleagues, but you are members of a political party. So you also have to appreciate the need to kowtow to the leadership of your party. Ultimately, both of them were inspired by their party, and they had to contest under different political parties, in 1983. So, but this one is not about, ideology in terms of difference. There's not an ideological difference, So people of the same political camp must know how to resolve their crisis in a way that the provisions of the Constitution are made to apply. If you decamp, you cannot remain in the House. That is the law. It is very clear. If you are going to impeach a governor, you must also familiarize yourself with several cases. Governor Ladoja's case, Governor Peter Obi's case, Nyako's case, and so on and so forth. So the law is very clear of Governor Dariye. How do you impeach a governor? You must be members of the House. Recognize. And if you have lost your seat, because impeachment is so important, it requires 2/3 majority of the entire state. So the Supreme Court made that point in Dariye's case. Now, if you are going to impeach the governor, the House must be properly constituted. If there are vacancies, there must be fresh elections. So you can't talk of the majority, that will not meet the 2/3 requirements of the Constitution if you want to remove the governor. If you have lost your seat, you cannot take part in the proceedings. That will lead to the removal of an elected governor under the Constitution.
So, Mr. Falano, quickly, so in the eye of the law, Mr. Falano, how many lawmakers do we have in Rivers State? You were saying that, as far as the law is concerned, the 25 lawmakers who defected from the PDP to the APC, from your explanation, it does look like you are inferring that they have automatically lost their seat. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Falano?
The 25 lawmakers who defected have lost their seats. They've lost their right to remain members of the House of Assembly. That is the law.
But
the case of Abegunde and Labour Party, the Supreme Court made it clear, that you cannot become and then remain members of a legislative house in Nigeria, unless you can show that there is a division in your party. Today, the PDP is one.
So, Mr. Falano, on the other hand, there are 4 lawmakers. Out of the 4, they chose one of them to be a speaker. Is that legally valid too?
Again, we have to look at the Constitution. Before the House can conduct proceedings, they must meet. There must be a quorum. The House must form a quorum to conduct, the business of the House. And the quorum in the Constitution is defined. But if you want to remove the government by way of impeachment, again, you must have 2/3 majority of the legislature. Again, this is very clear.
The Rivers people are up for a long, long ride in this political mess. Let me take you away from that. I'll take you to some major national issues. And this is one of the updates I gave earlier on, where the TUC and the NLC said tomorrow they will picket the offices of the discos and NERC across the country based on the electricity tariff hike. And this might be one of a kind of different kind of picketing and protest that we're seeing. You have spoken up about the electricity tariff high. But I will take you to another kind of tariff or levy that the government has since imposed. You have frowned on it, but what the Labour says it will do tomorrow, to what effect, and under the law, what should the government be thinking about in this respect?
Well, there's provision for picketing under the Labour Act, in Nigeria. And that is what the Labour centers will begin tomorrow. They're going to picket the office, the headquarters of the NEC, as well as the offices of the discos, to register their protest against the illegal electricity tariff, increase in electricity tariff, because the Nigerian Electricity Regulation Commission did not follow due process. It did not conduct a public hearing as required by the Electricity Act of 2023. So I do know that what will happen tomorrow is picketing to start some series of protests that the labor movement may be embarking upon. And I do hope that the commission, that is NEC, will engage, productively. I mean, will discuss with the labor movement and see what can be done to reverse, the hike. Because, I mean, again, the increase was anchored. I mean, band A, customers, the increase was anchored on the assumption that there will be regular electricity supply, at least for 20 hours. But, I mean, that has not been the case. So that is another problem with
Mr. Falana,
and the government has said, if a disco cannot meet the requirement, then you are not bound to pay.
Yeah, the federal government is saying through the Minister of Power that they are unbundling the discos. It does look like there are a lot of anomalies that went on in the discos coming to effect. But NEC would say that they've come down, and some of the discos have, in fact, reduced the prices in which when they at first announced the electricity tariff act, and they will imagine that the promise made is that the electricity tariff hike will help to stabilize or help the industry or help production of electricity in the country. Can that consideration be a proper thing to do by the government?
You see, Sean, by virtue of Section 116 of the Electricity Act of 2023, you can only justify a hike in electricity tariff if you are supplying electricity. So there must be evidence that there is improvement in electricity supply. But if Nigerians have to power their offices or their business premises with generators, solar power, and of course, epileptic electricity supply, it's difficult to justify because I have to buy diesel at a skyrocketing rate. You have to maintain your generator. You may also have to switch to solar power. Now, if this is the situation, it becomes very difficult to justify. And again, when they talk of unbundling, to the best of my knowledge, majority of the discos have been acquired by the government because of their toxic loans. I think I've said on this program, Shim, that as at the time the discos were distributed and sold in 2013, that sector had become self-sufficient. The government was no longer, subsidizing the sector. So we must find out what happened between then and now. And so if the government is thinking of unbundling again, you must sit down with the workers. You must engage in consultation in the country, because privatization has failed woefully in Nigeria. I think the Senate had one call on the government to take back all the discourse, and take firm control. So we cannot be increasing tariff when majority of our people are supplied darkness. We're not talking of those in band B, D, and C. We're only talking of band A for now. And there's no basis for such discriminatory treatment of consumers of electricity.
Yeah. Just when we're trying to wrap our heads around the electricity tariff, the CBN came with an announcement of the cybersecurity levy. Tariff and some other organizations have said they've gone to court to sue the federal government, but we are hearing, and we are hoping that the federal government will come out officially. We are hearing that the president may have asked for a withdrawal or a pause or rescission of that decision by the central bank, the directive, which they say it will take 2 weeks to take effect. What is your opinion? There are those who say this is in our laws. It's in the statute, in section 44. They're just acting based on the law.
Well, the interpretation, as I did say, the interpretation of the amendment to the Cybercrime Act by the central bank was grossly misleading. Whereas the amendment that took effect in February only specified that some businesses that are listed in section 42 of the Principal Act were to pay the levy. But when the central bank issued a circular, and Nigerians were told that individual customers were also going to pay. And I said, no, this is not what the law is saying. And I think the House of Reps also passed a resolution urging the central bank to have a rethink. I want to believe that the government has looked at the law and decided to cancel the levy, or rather suspend the levy. I do hope that the government will make an announcement on that, because such an announcement will be in line with the provisions of the Act. But Shewa, I also think, particularly for you guys in the media, you must be interested in the amendment beyond the levy. That's the 0.05% levy. In line with the decision of the ECOWAS Court, in the case of Serap and the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the National Assembly amended Section 24 of the Principal Act to decriminalize certain provisions, certain sections, subsection of that section, to ensure that cyber stalking, and others were taken out of the law. So what you now have is a situation whereby you can only be proceeded against if you're engaged in producing or distributing pornographic materials, or a text message or a WhatsApp message that can lead to a breakdown of law and order. Again, that will have to be defined at some point. But there's also Section 38 now, which has been smuggled into the amendment to justify breach of or data privacy. Again, this will have to be looked at vis-a-vis the provision of the Constitution, Section 37 in particular, the right to your correspondence, the privacy of your home, and the general interpretation of Chapter 4 is that you cannot breach any provision of Chapter 4 without a court order. If you are going to detain me even as a suspect, you must go to court and get an order. If you are going to prevent me from traveling out of the country, from enjoying my freedom of movement, you must get an order. If you are going to seize my property, even in interim, you must get a court order. So if you are going to breach my right to privacy, data privacy, you must get a court order. That hasn't been considered by Section 38 of the Act. So this is an area that the National Assembly will have to have another look at.
Yeah. Let me take you quickly and get your view on what happened between Osun State and Lagos State. And we've seen something like this happen between Lagos State and Anambra State. I remember a similar thing, or those debates happened when Raji Fashola was governor of Lagos State and Peter Obi was governor of Anambra State. But this time around, between Babajide Sanwo-Olu and the governor of Osun State, Ademola Adeleke. Now, about 317 youths were transported.
371.
371, yeah. Okay, thank you. 371 of them taken from Lagos State, and the police has also come into these, and also the Lagos State government to say they picked some of these people in different parts of Lagos State, and they took them to where they belong, legally speaking. Give us your view on what happened or what transpired, because this thing keeps happening again and again.
Well, in 2013, when the Babajide Fashola administration expelled some, beggars and destitute from Lagos, I did protest and made it clear to the government at that time that the government has no power to remove any Nigerian and expel him or her because every Nigerian has the right to take residence in any part of the Federation. You have freedom of movement. So if you are going to be taken out or expelled from the country, from any part of the country, you must have to go to court. And it's not possible to expel a citizen of this country within Nigeria or outside the country, as you saw in the case of Sugar Bar, in the Second Republic, where the ruling party decided to expel the majority leader of the House of Assembly in Borno State and, dump him in charge on the ground that the government then didn't believe that he was a Nigerian. Of course, he challenged the deportation, and the court ruling is civil, and he was brought back to the country. Again, in Nigeria today, it's a war against the poor. It's a war against the poor. Those who have been expelled are said to be miscreants. Sometimes you call them hoodlums during elections. This time around, they are miscreants. Now it is the duty of it is the government that creates hoodlums and miscreants. And so the government is required in a place like Lagos, to engage, get beggars and destitutes, to be taken care of. And I do hope that Governor Adeleke of Osun State, who has expressed concern, will collaborate with his colleague in Lagos to have those citizens brought back